Well, as we all know, every day in the garden is not a good day. We've had a couple of days of rain where I really haven't been able to get out here and look around like I normally do. But it's something that was inevitable. I kind of knew it was gonna happen eventually, so I fought myself. I actually have the fix for this and just been procrastinating. These were my green beans, but for the most part they were going to seed, and the local deer have showed up. So they had them a pretty nice meal. They just destroyed this patch of string beans that I have. I'm not distraught about it because, hey, it's part of nature. This is some of the things that we deal with backyard gardening. The problem that I'm having right now is that I actually have a fix for this. I'm going to be showing you in a later video on what I actually do to keep the deer out of the garden. I've just been lazy about putting it up, and this is the result. This bed I'm not too upset about. Most of this was going to be for my next year green bean harvest. I'm not too upset because I do have enough in here to where I can gather seeds and maybe even enough for a meal. As you can see, these things were still flowering, so I was getting at least a meal a week off of here. It's a prolific producer, and this is my second generation with these particular seeds, so they're very well acclimated to my area here. They tend to grow very well. They're bush beans. These will definitely be for next year. But at any rate, this is part of the damage. The ones that I'm probably a little more disappointed in are gonna be my black beans. I mean, as you can see, all these flowers all over, they were super producing. And I'm not gonna give up on them because they're still, as long as there are flowers on it, they'll bounce back. They're basically just, I guess you might say, just disrespected the whole thing. I mean, not only did they come out and have a meal, they just trample on everything. I think they'll survive, and it's gonna definitely put me in motion to putting up my invisible fence. That's something that you definitely wanna watch because it's a real cheap fix. I did it last year, I didn't have any issues, and this is what happens when you lay off. This was the second round of black beans that I put in. The first being in the bed on the other side. Once that bed produced and gave me 2 rounds out of it, I took the seeds, brought them over here, filled this in, and this is where I was growing my broccoli last year. So as the broccoli was shadowing the seedlings of the black beans, once the broccoli had run its course, I went ahead and cut the broccoli out and allowed the black beans to come up and do their thing. I was hoping to have between both beds maybe 7 bags. Each bag will probably be 2 meals each, so 7 bags, that's 14 weeks of 1 meal a week, and that's how I pretty much plan the whole garden out. Everything out here, I try to get at least 1 meal a week out of it, and if I could do that, I can pretty much pace myself to eliminate vegetables from the grocery store. So am I a prepper? I don't know if I qualify as that, in as much as, I'm intentional on most of the things that I'm doing out here, and I'm doing it for a reason. So we'll go over here to my other black beans, which have already been harvested from a couple of times. Well, right here we have my other black beans, and these have actually been harvested from 2 times. So this is almost the result of me just not doing what it is I know I should have done, and it also pushes me to do the things I need to do in the future. You can see they're dry beans, but I'm sure that I can, okay. So I'm probably gonna be competing with the sound. Again, we're just doing a little assessment, so we're gonna do a little walk around since I got a little noise in the background. Yep, come over here to our sweet potatoes, and you can see where the deer just kind of threw things off. But the sweet potatoes will survive. As long as they didn't pull them up by the roots, I'm not too concerned about the sweet potatoes. They came in and just took the tops off of everything. These are Beauregards here, and these are Tahitis. I guess they didn't care for the Tahitis as much, but they stripped stripped everything off. But you see new growth. We're not going to stress too much over that. They've been growing for about It's 90 days, and you can see where these suckers even step their feet. Just disrespectful. But at any rate, I think we have enough time to get some potatoes out of those, so we're fine with that. Right here we have one of my okra beds. We just want to cut right below the neck. It's perfect fruit there. Got a few over here. But again, you can come out and harvest off of this every day. And then by the end of the week, we'll have a meal out of this. I'll add this, go inside, clean them, and then put them inside my freezer bag. And then later on, we'll have a meal. And the deer did get some of this as well. I mean, they took off half of this plant on the edge. They did a little damage, you know. So, but we still got a lot of new growth happening. So we're not gonna complain too much, especially when it's something that I believe could have been avoided had I done what I know I should have done anyway. So right now, because these string beans were going into their seeding stage, I'm not too upset about that. But what I am going to do is be able to get me another harvest out of this. So it's not a total loss. We may even find a home for that curly kale and let the curly kale take in over here. We'll do a chop and drop, put all of this in, but not before we get all those seeds out. And that's going to require some time, because there are a lot of seeds on here, and that was my plan. I want to put together another video where I'm talking about seed exchange and how important that is into the biodiversity of your plants. While we want to collect seeds from our own garden, it's so vitally important to share those seeds with other growers growing the same type of plants that you are, because it makes the genetics of the plant just that much stronger. It's kind of like, I guess for lack of better words, inbreeding. If all of your seeds are coming from the same plants and all your pollinators are pollinating those same plants, you're pretty much going to have a weaker species of that particular plant. So you need seeds of the like from different gardens. So again, I'm going to get probably a meal out of this. Seeds or beans, however you want to look at it. We're going to come back after we've gotten most of these off, because I got a feeling that those deer are going to be back. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to stake up a couple of the plants that are leaning much with some bamboo posts, just so they get a little bit of support. Just a little support. Because what you see, they're vining all over the place and they're connected. So if I pull this one up, it's essentially going to pull that one up. That's all I want to do. Just go up in between the plants. And that's it. Maybe do a couple more like that where the deer kind of just trampled over everything. So it's not a loss. We're gonna turn right back around and we're gonna hit it with some of this 511. And I normally don't do 511 on my green beans, my legumes, because they are nitrogen fixers and they don't need it. But because they've been hit like they are, almost like pruning, and that's the way I'm going to look at it. Just been a heavy pruning. But as you can see, their flowers still all over the plant, so it's far from a done situation. And then we still have, you know, beans all over the plant. They came in, they did some damage, but we're going to rebound from this, and it'll be a learning experience. Put another one of these over here. They go up in between the plant. And that's just gonna hold it because again, they're vining up on each other. So those plants will hold the ones up in the center until they're gonna go towards the light. I normally don't use the 511 on my legumes because they are nitrogen fixers. I'm gonna do full strength of the 511. I have a 2-gallon canister. So that's gonna be 4 tablespoons in a 2-gallon canister because it's only supposed to be recommended 2 tablespoons per gallon. So I'm gonna do 4 tablespoons in a 2-gallon canister. And for this, my 0-10-10, this is what I normally put on these flowers, and this is what makes it flower and keep the cell structure in the plant so healthy. So I'm gonna do my normal regimen of the 0-10-10, which is 1 tablespoon per gallon. So in my 2-gallon canister, I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons. And we're gonna give this bed a full feeding of that 2-gallon because it's supposed to cover 25 square feet. My beds are 8 by 3.5, which we're gonna kind of round it off, and then we're gonna just call it our 25 square feet. And when we hit this with that 511 and that 0-10-10, these babies gonna perk back up. It's pretty much like a heavy pruning. Last year, the same thing happened to my string beans, and I was kind of upset about it, and then turned around. The string beans actually started producing better than they were before the deer got a hold of it. We're gonna show you how to do an invisible fence to keep those deer out, because that's what I did last year and I had no more issues with the deer. And they actually came back 2 nights in a row. So this is gonna be a problem from this point going on. They know where the food is and they're gonna keep coming back to it, especially the things that they like. The sweet potato leaves, they pretty much took the whole tops off of those. The sweet potatoes have been in for roughly about 90 days. They'll be okay. We're gonna make sure that we give these a slight boost to get them back to where they need to be. And then you come back and I'm gonna show you how to erect an invisible fence around your garden area. With that invisible fence, I have 2 cameras, so I'm gonna be recording the whole process of watching the deer come towards the invisible fence and their reaction once they come in contact with the invisible fence. And this is gonna show you just how effective it is. I think if you like the content, you'll subscribe, but if you share the video, it actually helps the channel grow that much more.